Hi everybody, this is Doug Ensley from flashandmath.com. I'm going to talk to you today about using the new Code Snippet panel in Adobe Flash CS5. There are a couple of things that are really nice about having a Code Snippets panel. One is, if you have no idea how to write code, then it's a way of finding some code to do things that you want to do by shopping through a description of the effects. The second thing that's helpful is, even if you do know how to program, a lot of times we have some very repetitive tasks or tasks that use very simple bits of code, and it's nice to not have to type them all each time. It's nice to be able just to import them. So I'm going to sort of focus on the latter thing today, and I'm going to show you what you can do if the particular effect that you want to use over and over again is not in the list that comes packaged with Flash CS5. One of the really nice things about the Code Snippet panel is that one of the options we have is seen here, Create New Code Snippet. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate today. I'm going to start off with some code that actually accomplishes a particular effect. I have just a completely black stage, and I've created a little rectangle here, and I've gone to the Modify menu and said Convert it to a movie clip, and chosen things here. And inside the Property panel, I gave this the name MC Clip. So MC Clip refers to my little rectangle movie clip on the stage. Now if we look at the code that I wrote for this, you can see it has a few references to MC Clip here. This is going to be a timer-based animation. I'm creating a timer. I'm positioning my clip 400 pixels basically behind the screen. The z-axis is the axis that's perpendicular to your screen, coming right out at you, and the positive z-axis is the region behind the screen. So 400 pixels back, starting off with it being completely transparent, and then as the timer fires, you can see what we're doing. We are bringing the z-coordinate closer to 0, we're bringing the alpha property up to 1, and we're actually even doing a rotation around the x-axis, so this will be a rotation in 3D, so that it actually completes one complete 360-degree rotation as it's going through this effect. The parameters for the timer class, the 100 here tells it that we're going to fire once every 100 milliseconds, and 20 tells us that we're going to fire 20 times. Now, one of the things that's important with using timers for animation, especially if you have multiple things on the screen that you're trying to coordinate, is to have the timer actually signal to the program when it's finished. And so even though it's not part of my effect, I have included a function down here that handles the timer complete event. So right now it doesn't do anything, it just prints something to the output panel, but in general I want to have that there so that I have the option of triggering the next thing to happen when the current timer has finished. So let's test this and see what it does. And we see our rectangle doing one complete flip, alpha property coming up and moving up towards the screen. So that's the effect that we want to have, and I'd like to add this to the Snippets panel so that I can use this for multiple things. One of the things that's important when you create these things is the naming convention for the objects and functions that you define. Notice that these are starting FL underscore and then whatever they are. Any kind of object or function that's defined this way using the FL underscore prefix will adapt when they're imported for multiple objects on the stage. In other words, if I wanted to use this snippet several times and those names did not change, then I would have some namespace violations, because I'd be trying to declare the variables multiple times or declare the functions multiple times. So I'll show you how that plays out. But an important feature of that is this naming convention for these objects. Right now, the object that's being manipulated, of course, is this thing called MC Clip that I had written. It's important, if this is going to be a general snippet that can be applied to anything, that we use our object name is instance name here, and you'll see how it turns the Flash IDE turns this red, which definitely lets us know that something is up about it. So I'm just going to do this by hand because there aren't, well, badly, but I'm going to do this by hand because there aren't very many of them. But if there were a lot of them, I would just use a find and replace to make sure that I've had replaced all instances of MC Clip with this generic thing. Now this code won't of course work correctly now because I don't have the name of an object that's on the stage, but I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to highlight it, come over to my Code Snippets panel, tell it to create a new code snippet, and it'll say use code selected in Actions panel, and since I did select that in the Actions panel, I can just say autofill, and you can see that it has copied all of that stuff into the panel. Now I want to give this a name, so I'll call it fade and zoom in, and the tooltip description is just a longer description. It's the text that comes up when you mouse over the effect. So I'll say I use the timer class to fade in, zoom in, and rotate in 3D. So we have a nice descriptive string there. And then we'll say automatically replace instance name when applying the code snippet. That will ensure that when I apply the snippet to an object on the stage, that instance name here string gets replaced. So that's it. Now in my snippets panel, not just in this session, but if I were to close and come back in any session I have a custom folder. I have the fade and zoom in effect that I just wrote, and it's ready to go to be used for some new program. So to illustrate that, I'm going to close this guy altogether, and I'm going to open a brand new ActionScript program. For this zooming effect, I really love the black background, so let me set that up, and this time instead of having a box zoom in, let's zoom in on the word CS5 in white letters. That'll look very Star Wars-y coming at you. In order to show the sort of coordination of animation effects, I'm going to break this guy up, so break apart, so that I have three distinct things on the stage to apply my effect to. Applying the effect is no different for this than it is for applying any other snippet. I choose the object on the stage that I want the effect to apply to, I open the snippet panel, I find my effect, and I double click on it. I get this dialog box saying my selection will be created in Movie Clip, and it's going to do that for me, so I just say OK, and you can see that it created a movie clip called Movie Clip 1 out of my letter C, and it replaced the instance name here string with the name of that clip throughout. So that worked great, and so I'll just do it again. I'll choose my S, go to the Code Snippet panel, find this guy and double click. Now look what happens with the second time it comes in. Notice that instead of having the name FL timer for the timer object, now it's called FL timer 2. And I have movie clip 2 instead of movie clip 1. So Flash is avoiding any kind of namespace problems by using a different name for the functions and the objects for each subsequent time that I apply this thing. So I'll do it one more time for the 5. And now I have it applied 3 different times. So there's 3 different timers, 3 different movie clips, and it should run, we should see it happening to all 3 things. So let me save this. Let's call it Snippet CS5. And we'll test, and we see the CS5 coming at us in 3D. So that's the basic idea of using the custom code snippets. Let me real quick show you the issue I was talking about earlier about having the timer complete event so that you could chain together animations and coordinate them. Inside the code that was written for us by the snippets, we're basically starting all these timers as soon as they're created, and so all 3 of them are essentially starting at the same time. The alternative to that, of course, is that when the first timer has finished, the handler event here will have a chance to do something, and so we might as well make the handler for the first timer being complete start the second timer. So I can grab the starting of the second timer and cut it out of there and paste it here. So now when the timer complete event is fired for the first timer, the second timer will start. And similarly, if I scroll down and find the start for the third timer, I can move it to the event handler for the end of the second timer. So if I save and test that modification, then I get this nice chaining of animations that you would expect. And in general, this is the way that we could have one animation start when the one before has finished. So that's our use of custom code snippets. This is the way I plan to use them. I hope you have a good time using them for your applications.